Carlos Beltran today is one of the most interesting baseball players of the recent past. By some metrics, he's a top 10 center fielder in the history of baseball, and has the 5th most home runs among center fielders ever. Yet, he didn't even earn 50% of the vote in the Hall of Fame ballot in his first year eligible. Which is wild because Carlos Beltran was a really good baseball player. I want to rewind the clocks a little bit here to the spring of 2004. Beltran is a consistently good 5-tool type player. The year before, he hit 26 home runs, batted .307, stole 41 bases to just 4 caught stealings, was a positive value defender, and consistently gave you 10-plus outfield assists per year when healthy. But outside of Kansas City, or the nerdiest baseball nerds at the time, very few people recognize this. With Beltran set to be a free agent after the 2004 season, he was certainly going to get a large paycheck, but likely not anything close to his true value. We're still in the era where Bartolo Colon won a Cy Young over Johan Santana because he had a couple more wins. To expect a one-time All-Star from Kansas City to get a crazy high contract is just unrealistic, to the headspace of team constructors at the time. On June 24th, 2004, the Kansas City Royals traded the last few months of Beltran's contract to the Houston Astros, an organization that had never won a World Series, or even been to one. He stuck the landing on a great final season of his contract, coming 2 home runs short of a 40 home run, 40 stolen base season. Put it this way, he was good enough to finish 12th in National League MVP voting with just 90 games in Houston after the trade. He wasn't going to win thanks to Barry Bonds' season where he got on base more than 60% of the time, but it's fun to imagine him in the top 3 to 5 if he was in Houston for the entire year. Speaking of Bonds, in 2002, Barry Bonds set the new record for most home runs in a single postseason with 8. And let me tell you, Beltran showed every last intention to get a chance to match it. The Astros rode a 7-game win streak in their final 7 games to claim the last playoff spot in the National League by just 1 game over the San Francisco Giants. Bonds himself could have had another shot, but instead, Beltran took it from him and was ready to go face the Atlanta Braves in Game 1 of the NLDS, or National League Division Series for all acronym haters. And he wasted no time seeing the ball well. Singles are cool, but this is what you came to see.
High fly center field. Andrew Jones backing up. On the track, turning around. That's gone. Carlos Beltran with his 3rd hit today. A 2-run homer.
Beltran's 3 hits and a hit by pitch were a huge part of a 9-3 win in Game 1 for the Astros. Game 2 was surprisingly quiet. He didn't get on base once in an 11-inning loss. He never replicated a performance like that again. Beltran starts undoing his rare bad game as soon as he can, doubling in his first at-bat in Game 3 back in Houston. His second at-bat back in Houston.
And he swings and drives this one deep to right field. Backing up Drew. He's at the wall. He's waiting. He leaps. And that's gone. It's a home run. 2-run shot for Beltran.
Beltran wouldn't get another hit in this game, but did pick up his 2nd playoff stolen base. Oh yeah, he also had one in Game 1, because this is a guy who can basically do anything on a baseball field. Astros win 8-5 in Game 3, in a game that was much more of an Astros-dominated event than the score would trick you into believing. Even when Beltran doesn't have things go his way, he sometimes puts himself in big positions to succeed. He makes a lot of hard contact for outs, which is sometimes all you can ask for in baseball. It's an unfair game after all. Like, for example, with this lineout he hits in his first at-bat of Game 4. With some bad luck sprinkled in, he still goes 1 for 4 with a walk and a double. Respectable showing, but with the Astros losing Game 4 to send the series back to a winner-take-all Game 5 in Atlanta, he was going to need to be spectacular. Don't you doubt for a second that he was.
Carlos Beltran, what a tremendous acquisition for the Astros from Kansas City. Carlos Beltran has set an Astros and now National League Division Series record, 4 home runs in a series.
In Game 5 of the 2004 NLDS, Beltran had one of the very best games of his whole career. 4 hits, 5 runs batted in, 2 home runs, and his one out was still a lineout, go figure. Astros win 12-3, and they're now off to a best-of-7 series with the divisional rival St. Louis Cardinals, where the winner gets a trip to the World Series. The Astros have never done this. Neither has Beltran, obviously. For a guy who spent 5.5 seasons on mostly mediocre to terrible Kansas City Royals teams, a run of stardom like this is new to Beltran, and is most definitely putting him on the map. He's now doing it for a team in the 4th largest city in all of America that's in nearly the same kind of unprecedented territory. So let's do a little stat check. In the 5 NLDS games, Beltran hit 4 home runs, batted .455, got on base in half of his at-bats, and averaged a slugging rate so insane that if he got a single in every at-bat he took the entire series, he actually would have done worse. A single in every at-bat would not have been as good as this. On his own, he added 5% to the Astros' probability to win the World Series. 2 rounds away from it, and on a team of 25 guys, one man tacked 5% odds onto his team's title hopes in just 5 games. This doesn't happen.
What the hell is going on up there?
But guess what? He might have been even better the next series. Alright, let's just get right down to it. Second batter of the game in Game 1 against the Cardinals is Carlos Beltran. He does the thing. Beltran had himself another amazing game, going 2 for 5 with a home run. Meanwhile, the Astros pitching staff let up 10 runs from the Cardinals, which is obviously not ideal. Tough to win games when you do that. This made Beltran's 9th inning ground out to first base the final out of the game. Another home run wouldn't have tied the game or anything like that. The Cardinals' offense just outpaced theirs that much. Not a fun start. You know who likes fun starts, though? Particularly in the form of hitting a home run in their first time up in the game.
That ball hammered into right field, and Carlos Beltran is homered again in this postseason.
This is the point where fear started creeping in for the Cardinals. Beltran would walk 3 times in this game, so he'd finish just 1 for 2 in the box score. Astros would lose again 6-4. Beltran stranded at second base after leading off the top of the 9th with walk number 3. Need some wins going back to Houston. Game 3 starts out good, but not super eventful for Beltran. His at-bat sequence goes walk, hit that is not a home run, then strikeout before he comes up in the top of the 8th inning with a 1-run lead. Haven't mentioned a Beltran home run in about 5 seconds, so yeah, let's do that again. Astros win Game 3. Time for Game 4. His at-bat sequence goes walk, hit that is not a home run, then strikeout before he comes up in the bottom of the 7th inning in a tie game. Haven't mentioned a Beltran home run in about 5 seconds, so yeah, let's do that again.
Carlos Beltran has matched Barry Bonds' 8 home runs in the postseason, and he's done it in about half the game.
Astros win Game 4. If this all sounds familiar and you're getting deja vu, I literally just copy and pasted the Game 3 script for Game 4 and just changed the inning and run difference on the go-ahead homer. Seriously, that's all I did. If it all feels familiar, it's on purpose. He somehow managed to have the exact same good game 2 days in a row. Also, if you've been counting, that's 6 home runs in the last 5 games for Beltran. 5 straight playoff games with a home run. The only time that's ever been passed was Daniel Murphy hitting a home run in 6 straight for the 2015 Mets in October, but that's a story for another day. Let's further break down that 5-game run. 611 batting average, 11 hits, 7 extra bases, 10 runs batted in, 696 on base percentage, 1.667 slugging percentage, which is so high I barely even feel real saying it, which should make this number feel incomprehensible to absolutely everyone. 2.362 OPS. One guy did all that I feel like teams don't even drive 10 runs in 5 games sometimes. Beltran did it in the 5 most important games of the Astros season to that point. Game 5 was a nail-biter, in large part because Beltran didn't hit any home runs. He did make an amazing diving catch in center field in the 7th inning, though. Still a plus defender, after all. To start the game, his at-bats were a fly out to left field, line out to right field, and ground out back to the pitcher. All that could go away if he does something good leading off the bottom of the 9th in a scoreless game, like basically anything. A hit counts as something. Stealing second base also counts as something. Don't forget he can do that too. Getting into scoring position was cool, but it turns out he didn't quite need to do that. One win away from the team's first World Series appearance in history. Game 6 begins with a walk, hit, and out in that order for Beltran. So based on the script for Games 3 and 4, that has to mean the Astros pull out the win and go to the World Series, right? Right? Well, guess who the batter is in the top of the 9th inning with 2 outs, down by 1. Go-ahead run is at the plate, in the most capable hands there have ever been.
Leading off that inning, and Beltran single into right, and they're going to walk him. Not a tough decision for me. I walk him all day, every day.
Oh, look at this cowardice. Let me have the narrative for the video, please. Astros do tie the game, but nothing more. Beltran gets one final at-bat tonight in the top of the 12th inning, where he grounds out to first base. Not long after, the Cardinals keep their season alive for another day. And with that extra day, they finally hold Beltran hitless and win the series. Beltran hit 4 home runs in the 7-game NLCS with a .417 batting average and .1521 OPS. And the Astros didn't even win the series. But that gets even crazier in my opinion. There have only ever been 2 players to kinda equal the performance Beltran put up in 2004. Randy Arozarena in 2020 and Barry Bonds in 2002. Arozarena hit 10 home runs in 20 games, Bonds hit 8 in 17 games. The only ones to exceed or match Beltran in home runs in a single postseason, but Beltran hit 8 home runs in 12 games. He really did it in 9, but you kinda can't just overlook those last 3. If he followed Arozarena's pace and had the same games played, Beltran was on track for 13 home runs. That's as many as Alex Verdugo hit in 142 games this past season. He also set the record for most runs scored in a single postseason with 21. Again, he did in just 12 games. One thing I purposefully didn't mention, Beltran's last home run of the regular season was on September 7th. NLDS Game 1 was October 6th. He did all this after going roughly a full month without homering. I don't have a word that describes that for you. And I have a possible hot take for you. The whole rest of Beltran's career doesn't happen without this stretch. Going into his first free agency, his image was at an all-time high. And it's been reported that he stated his preference was to stay in Houston for 2005 and beyond. But at this time, there was a weird little wrinkle to free agency that doesn't exist anymore. At this time, MLB's collective bargaining agreement had a deadline for a team to re-sign their own player. In this case, Beltran had until midnight on January 8th, 2005 to re-sign with the Astros. That is, unless they wanted to wait until May 1st to try again, a month into the season. If it sounds stupid, yes it is. This little pocket of a free agency rule only existed for a little blip around this time. I have trouble explaining and/or justifying the logic of it, but oh, believe me, it was there. Any article talking about Beltran's 2004 free agency touches on it if you want to do your own reading. This is where we're at. A hard deadline, more or less, for the Astros to keep him. There are 4 main suitors for Beltran's services. The Astros, the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, and the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs like him, but once bidding starts to push or exceed $100 million, they're out. Remember, he's just Carlos Beltran in their minds. The benefit of 2023 hindsight shows you that thinking is stupid, but remember, For 99% of his career to this point, he's what the LA Times explains the industry's perception of him as solid and developing. Solid and developing players don't get 9-figure contracts. Beltran's top choice seems to be Houston, but they're not willing to give him the right to block any trades. His second choice is the Yankees, but they won't even take him at a near $20 million discount, because they're afraid of paying the extra in taxes. This isn't quite the Yankees being cheapskates, it's the fact that the Yankees don't think he is worth the extra ponying up. If Seinfeld was set like 15 to 20 years later, this would be something that George Costanza would cite to George Steinbrenner about how he doesn't respect his judgment anymore. The Astros do think he's worth the money, because he proved that he was to them. They just won't budge on that no-trade clause. But someone else thinks he's worth the money too. And the moment it becomes clear that the Astros will literally not be allowed to re-sign him thanks to that dumb deadline, there's one horse left in the race. That horse loves him, and they've offered him a 7-year contract worth $119 million to make sure they get him, because they see the worth he showed. In fact, they've called his agent for 31 straight days asking about him. Have you ever called anyone in your life for 31 straight days to try and get them to like you? Did it end well? Did you get a restraining order? Well, this team sees that much value in Beltran to do it. And they're so enamored with him that they offer about $14 million more than Houston to be sure they're in the best spot to get him. A bidding war like this of over $100 million for a one-time All-Star who mostly played for losing teams in a small market doesn't happen if he doesn't prove his worth in that playoff run. Midnight on January 8th comes. Beltran does not sign with the Astros. Reports would come out later that day Carlos Beltran was going to be a New York Met.
He lifts it to deep right. The ball is out of here. The Mets win the ball game. Beltran with a walk-off 2-run homer in the bottom of the ninth.
Let's recap everything that happens for Beltran since he got his massive $119 million deal from the Mets. He became the best center fielder in team history, the third ever Met to hit 40 home runs in a season, was the best player on a team one game away from the World Series, where he had a great postseason run again, tainted by one horrible moment to end their season. He made 5 All-Star teams with the Mets before being traded to the San Francisco Giants for 2 months and hitting free agency again, proving the value he signed for, again, but 7 years older this time. He signed just a 2-year, $26 million deal with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was outstanding for them too, putting up 2 more All-Star seasons and dominating postseason play again, to get the Cardinals to another World Series appearance. Not as dominant as he was against them in 2004 or even 2006 with the Mets, but no one was expecting that. He'd sign a new 3-year deal with the Yankees.
It just came to light that the New York Yankees have signed Carlos Beltran to a 3-year, $45 million deal. And as a Red Sox fan, this one kind of sucks.
Make another All-Star team with them, get traded to the Texas Rangers, draw some hair in with a marker, get signed by the Astros for one last season, and win a World Series with them, coasting off into the sunset of a great career. He'd also retire with a reputation as being a great postseason player, having 16 career playoff home runs, more playoff walks than strikeouts, and a triple slash of a .307 batting average, .412 OBP, and .609 slugging. Today, he's considered an eventual Hall of Famer, and the world seeing that all started with one big postseason push. Oh, yeah, I do have to mention the other stuff, I guess. It's been reported that Beltran helped orchestrate a cheating scandal in his second go-around with Houston in the year he helped them win the World Series. The Mets saw so much in him, as we already went over, and that never went away. He even was hired to be their manager before 2020. But the consequences of his actions being a key piece in coming up with the trash can banging scandal cost him that job before he ever got to manage a game. Time does heal all wounds, though. He's speculated to be a candidate to be rehired for that same job right now. He's had multiple jobs in the industry since losing his Mets manager position, and it's only a matter of time before his excellence on the field is rewarded with a Hall of Fame plaque. It's amazing how much he still wants to be around the game, even with more money than most of us can possibly imagine. He could just, like, chill forever, but he doesn't want to. He's a baseball guy, and he really does know how to do the whole be good at baseball thing. Most people know that now, as they should. But we should never forget that that started when he gave the whole world a glimpse of that, with one of baseball's best performances ever on a national stage almost 20 years ago.